Thank you. Good evening. It is wonderful to see all of you here. My name is Katie Ricks, and I serve as the transitional pastor here at Oakhurst Presbyterian Church, and you are welcome in this space. One of the things we say is wherever you are, whoever you are, this is a place where you belong, and we work to have those hard conversations that try to make that possible. So we are thrilled to be able to host tonight. Oakhurst has been involved with conversations regarding Palestine and justice for a very long time, and we're glad you're here. I'm going to pass it over to, well, actually, I want to say not just me, but our session in the Presbyterian Church, our board of the governing board is called the Session, and on behalf of the Session and on behalf of our congregation, we welcome you here. And I want to pass along to Dee and invite her to tell us what is going on this evening.
Thank you, Katie. I might have answers. So as Katie said, my name is Dee, and on behalf of all of our local co-sponsoring organizations, the Atlanta Multi-Faith Coalition for Palestine, the Beacon Hill Black Alliance for Human Rights, CARE Georgia, Jewish Voice for Peace Atlanta, and Joining Hands for Justice, welcome and thank you for being here for Hope Beyond Apartheid, Finding Hope and Intertwining Stories from South Africa to Palestine with Iyad, Burnat, and Reverend Naomi Tutu. We are very glad to be the first stop on a 4-city tour across the United States coordinated by Friends of Sabeel North America, also known as FOSNA, which is a nonprofit Christian ecumenical organization that is seeking justice and peace in the Holy Land through education, advocacy, and nonviolent action. Before we begin the program this evening, I do want to go over a few housekeeping items with you. First of all, downstairs we will have a gathering after we are done, and you'll find a table with a bunch of resources on it. One of those resources is a donation sign for FOSNA. I would like to ask you to prayerfully consider to make a financial donation to them tonight. This tour and others like it are funded in large part from contributions from communities like ours. So you can go downstairs after we are done, and if you feel so moved, you can make a donation to FOSNA. Secondly, after our presenters are done sharing, we will have a Q&A. We will have someone walking around with a microphone, so if you do want to ask a question, please wait for the microphone to come to you so that our online guests can hear you. That would be great. And so now that all of those things are out of the way, I am honored to introduce you to our two speakers tonight. Iyad Burnat is a Palestinian activist who leads the Beleen nonviolent struggle in the West Bank. He is the head of the Beleen Popular Committee Against the Wall, which has led weekly demonstrations since 2005 against the Israeli apartheid annexation wall. The film 5 Broken Cameras, which was made about Beleen, was made by Iyad's brother Ahmad. And it shares the story of the struggle of Palestinians in Beleen. It won a Sundance Film Festival Documentary Award, and Ahmad is the first Palestinian that has been nominated for an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. Reverend Naomi Tutu is the third child of Archbishop Desmond and Nomalizo Leah Tutu, and has the opportunity of having lived in many communities and countries across the globe. She was educated in Swaziland, the United States, as well as in England, and has taught at the University of Hartford, the University of Connecticut, and Brevard College in North Carolina. She previously served as the program coordinator for the Historic Race Relations Institute at Fisk University and was part of the Institute's delegation to the World Conference Against Racism in Durban. So without any further ado and yapping from me, I would like to turn it over to Naomi and Iyad.
Thank you. So obviously I'm not Naomi and Iyad. I'm just Naomi. Okay. See, I am tall. They had to move it up. My children told them to move the mic down because I was too short. Anyway, it is truly a pleasure to be here with you and an honor to be with Iyad. And as we talked about how we wanted to go about this, I said, you know that they've all come to hear you, really, so I'm just going to do the introduction. And I wanted to do the introduction because I recognize that as our headline says, our title says, it's talking about the parallels between apartheid South Africa and apartheid Israel. And I remember we actually lived in Jerusalem for 6 months when I was 6, and I don't remember much about that except I remember breaking the mirror in the hotel room that we were in. So, but then I remember my father visiting Israel and Palestine and him talking about how similar it was. And that, in fact, he said, in many instances, what is happening in Palestine is worse than ever happened in South Africa. And I remember thinking, you know, this man is being dramatic. We know that the evil that was South African apartheid, that separated families, that moved black communities, that demolished black communities, that arrested and tortured and murdered anyone who spoke up against apartheid. So what does he mean that what is happening in Palestine is worse than what we experienced in South Africa? And I got to go back to Israel and Palestine when I was a seminary student at Vanderbilt Divinity School. And from the ride from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, just in that ride, I realized that my father had not lied, that he was not being dramatic. Because as I was sitting in the car, we drove along the highway, and then I saw a sign that said, all Palestinian cars must exit the highway at the next exit. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, I mean, in the deepest, darkest time of apartheid, they didn't tell us that we couldn't be on the highway. And that is the minor thing I saw in my time there. That when we were there last year, visiting people, one family in particular, I remember we visited, and they were living in a caravan that they had put up in the yard of their home that had been demolished by the Israeli Defense Force. And they had said, we are not going to move. Even though they are now threatening to demolish our caravan, this is our home. So as I reflected back on hearing my father and President Carter speaking about the evil that is apartheid in Israel and Palestine, I saw the truth with my own eyes. And I have always been struck since I first came to this country. I was always struck how you never saw Palestinian stories on the news. You never met Palestinians in regular situations. That the first time most of us would hear from Palestinian families would be after somebody had been a suicide bomber. And then all of a sudden the media would find his mother, his sister, his wife, and say to them, so how do you feel about your son, your brother, your husband, for what he has done? And invariably, the mother, the sister, the wife would say, I am proud of my child, my husband, my brother, for struggling for our liberation. And with no context, right? And so the portrayal of Palestinians as evil, blood-hungry terrorists who were attacking innocent people in Israel was not a mistake. It was a story that was being told in this country over and over in the way in which people were introduced to Palestinians. And I recognized that introduction because I came from a community where our leaders were labeled terrorists by the US government and media, where stories of Black South Africans were told largely through the eyes of white South Africans. I remember seeing a documentary about South Africa, and they interviewed a white South African. And she said, you know, these black people are not like us. And the interviewer said, in what way do you mean? And she said, well, you see that car? So if you and I were going to go into that car, we can see it only seats 4 people. And so there would only be 4 of us in the car. But if you look at black people, they will have 7, 8, or 9 people in the car. Again, a story told with no context, because the context was very few Black South Africans could afford cars on those slave wages that they were paid. And so those who had cars gave rides to as many people as they could squeeze in. But again, when our stories are told without context, then people can believe that we are not as human as they. And what we have gathered this evening is to remind you that we are only human together. And that as long as there is a child dying in Gaza of starvation as deliberate government policy, as we had children dying in the Bantustans of South Africa as deliberate government policy, as long as the IDF is able to slaughter people with impunity, we are laying the foundations for our own dehumanization. We are turning a blind eye to an oppression that is coming our way. And so we are so thankful that you are here and that you will have an opportunity to hear from Iyad, who hosted our delegation in his home that had just been raided by the IDF. And they had just out of, I don't even know what you can call it, they had ripped furniture. They had destroyed his televisions. He had destroyed computers simply because they could. But we know that that is not the end of the story. My grandmother used to tell us, don't believe the lie that is apartheid. The truth is that justice is the earth's response to injustice and oppression. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Uh, First of all, I want to thank FOSNA for this invitation to meet with you. I've been here in the United States many times speaking about our nonviolent struggle in Belain. And I met Mr. Tutu in my home, 2009. 2024, I met his daughter. So we had a good relationship with South Africa as we have a similar stories in Apartheid regime. So I am Iyad Burnat from a small village called Belain, 16 kilometers west of Ramallah city in West Bank. It comes between Jerusalem and Ramallah and Ramle, Lod. So we are close to the border, 1967. It's about 10 kilometers from the border. And in that time that the Israeli army decided to build the apartheid wall in our land. So they left the 10 kilometers and they came to confiscated 60% from our land to build the apartheid wall. This was 2004 when we started in December, and we decided to have our demonstrations every week from that time. So every week we have internationals, Israeli activists who participate with us in our demonstrations. We use the non-violent way in our struggle. We fight by our bodies. We put ourselves in cages and barrels and cylinders. We tie ourselves to the olive trees. And by this way, we was fighting this apartheid wall. When they start to build, they destroyed 1,000 olive trees from the farmland. That's the people of Belain used to have the olive trees in their economy, in their life. So we have many people, many families who are selling the olive oil. Now they have to buy it. What's the reason to confiscate the land and to destroy the olive trees is to build a new settlement. It's called Mitityahu Mizrah. And now it's become Mudain Elite as a biggest. So we have 100,000 people living in Mudain Elite now, in a few years. Most of them, they came from New York. You will not just send to us weapons to kill us. You send also people to live on our land. And also the veto against the Palestinian case 42 times comes from United States. And we know all that the United Nations said that these settlements is illegal by the international law. The Security Council, they said it's illegal settlements. From Oslo Agreement, 1993, until now, they have to stop building settlements and to transfer settlers to the area of West Bank. But they never agree. From that time until now, they continue to build more and more settlements. Just last 2 weeks, they have a decision to build a new 20 settlements in West Bank. 2 of these settlements, it comes near our village. So soon we will be surrounded by settlements. We will have a gate like a jail to go and come out. And in this time, before I came last week, they put around 1,000 gates in West Bank and checkpoints. So people in West Bank, they cannot move from place to place, from village to village, because of these. Why? We are not in Gaza. We are in West Bank. And the Palestinian Authority, as you know, take over all the cities. Yes, they cut it to area A, B, and C. But this is not the goal of the Zionists when they came to Palestine, and in their propaganda was land without people for people without land. When they came to Palestine, they came to clean the land from the people, not to build a Palestinian state, not to be in the negotiation with the Palestinians. And this is what we see now. What's happened in Gaza since 2 years now, it's just genocide. Killing 60,000 people, most of them as children. Just today they kill a director of the doctor, a director of the Indonesia hospital with his wife and his children. They're just helping the people. They didn't have guns. 108 just today being killed. It's not about Hamas. It's just to clean the land from the people, to build the Jewish state. This is what Smotrich and Ben Gvir and Netanyahu said, that they didn't want to see Palestinians in this land. And if we still have Palestinians, they have to be slaves under the Israeli government. This is what they're talking about in the future soon. And because this, they're putting more pressure on the Palestinians in West Bank to give them leave the country. So now it's a very bad situation. It's not just the checkpoints, also the settlers, the very bad and dangerous settlers that attacking the Palestinians every day in the farmland, in the villages. And just a few days ago, they killed 4 youth in a small village called Kufur Malik near Ramallah. And always they have the soldiers, the army protect them. So when we started to compare between armed resistance and nonviolent resistance, and they didn't want to see any of them. They are not just bombed and attacked the armed resistance, also they are attacking the nonviolent resistance hardly. When we started 2005, our demonstrations, it was Belain, and we succeed to send the message and the case of Belain to other villages around in West Bank, like in Nabi Saleh, Na'lin, and others. They started the nonviolent resistance. And we succeed in many ways. For example, in a small village, Belain, we succeed to remove the wall back 500 meters. That's the first time we demolish part of the wall and move it 500 meters back. We succeed to send the message to many people around the world about the life of the Palestinians under the occupation. And we got many internationals coming to see Belain and to learn more about the nonviolent resistance in our village. And we have many famous people that comes and visit, like Jimmy Carter, Desmond Tutu, many people who have Nobel Peace Prize also. We have many of the media that comes and covered what's happened in Belain. So it's break them, they didn't like it. In our struggle, we break many companies that's where they was working in the settlements by BDS movement. Yes, they cannot use against us rockets or planes, but they use another tactics to stop us. I just want to give you an example about my life as leading the nonviolent demonstration. So they start to arrest me from the beginning for 1 week, 2 weeks. I've been arrested more than 18 times. to keep me away from the village. They attack my home tens of times. Every time when they attack my home, I have 5 children. They're growing to see the violence of the soldiers inside of the house. Imagine when you have 30 soldiers inside of the house, cover their faces with big guns, with dogs, waking the children up when they are sleeping. When they broke in the windows, enter the house, or bombing the door at mid of night. So we have time that we didn't sleep with our children. They came, they arrested me, beating me in front of my children. So you cannot explain the feeling of the children when they saw their father being beaten in front of them. Why? Because he is doing the nonviolent resistance. Why? Because he's asking for a peace. He's asking for a better future for our children and other children. So it's been happened many times. So when I continue the demonstrations, we didn't stop because this is our land, this is our farmland, this is our olive trees. They start to attack my children. So the first one is my eldest son. They shot him in front of me. It was like a message from the commander that he came by the jeep. We didn't have a demonstration in that minute. We just was walking near my home. So they shot him in his leg by live bullet. Usually they didn't use the live bullet against the people in the demonstrations. You know why? Because we have internationals and Israelis activists. But in this minute, we was alone. They shot him. The bullet cut the main nerve in his leg. So to give a treatment for the children, it's also very hard. He spent 1 week in Ramallah hospital. We didn't have a nerve doctor. So we have to take him to Jerusalem, Maqasid Hospital. They didn't give us a permit to go or to the ambulance. So we succeeded to take him from other way. We called 2 of our friends, Israeli activists, who came and put him in the back of the car, and he spent 10 days in the hospital without anyone of his family. So this is how they hate us. They don't want us. It's treatment for a child. After 1 year, the doctor told him that your nerve is died. And the reason it takes long time for him to take him to the hospital to do the surgery. So the second message was for my second son. They shot him in his head by rubber coated steel bullet made in United States. It broke his skull. So we succeeded in this time to get for him a treatment in 2 weeks. And he's become fine. He still have a headache from that time, but thanks God we succeeded to give him a treatment. After 2 weeks, they came to the home and they arrested him. He was 17 years old. And they told in the court that he was cutting the fence. They arrested him when he was sleeping. Same what's happened with me when I was 17 years old. They came to my home. They arrested me And they told my father we want him for 5 minutes. I was sleeping. They took me to the court. I find 2 soldiers saying that he was throwing stones. And they give me 2 years in jail. It's him. The same happened with my children. They told that he was cutting the fence. We didn't have a fence in Belaid. We have a concrete wall. But they have to believe the soldiers, not the lawyer or the son. They give him 1.5 years. After they release him, they came again after 1 month and they arrested him under administration detention. You know this law? Nobody in the world have it, just in Israel. He spent another 10 months under administration detention. In 9th of October, the 3rd day of the genocide in Gaza, they came to my home and they arrested him again for another 10 months under administration detention. So he told me when they release him, this 10 months is like 10 years. They change how to deal with the Palestinian prisoners in the time of the genocide. They take all the blankets from them. They take all the food. No showers. The room of 6 people, they put in it 16 prisoners. So one of the stories that he told me, when they released him, we didn't know him. He was very thin, very tired, and he have problem until now in his back because they was beating him every day. So one of the stories that 16 prisoners in a small room, they didn't take showers. They have the same clothes. If they take a shower in 1 minute, he have to wear the same clothes. So when the soldiers opened the door to give him food or to beat them, they was putting masks. That's the smell of the prisoners is very bad. It's like animals. What break him is not because they're beating him every day or he didn't eat. This story is break him when they deal with him like animals. And we have 31 being killed in this time, youth in the prisons. So this was the message to my second son. My third son, they shot him in his hand and his chest by .022 bullet. .022 is made in the United States. They made it to use it against animals. It's very dangerous. They send it to Israel to use it against civilians. Later, after 1 month, they arrested him. And he spent 3.5 years in one time. So in that time, before the genocide, they was beating him and he broke his hand. So all his hand now is a metal. When it comes in the time of genocide, he spent another 10 months. They beat him on the same hand. So he had to do a surgery. When he came back, we took him direct by the ambulance to the hospital. He did 3 surgeries. one in his stomach because of the food that they didn't eat. They didn't have salt, they didn't have sugar in the jail. And one surgery in his heart, and the other in his hand. They beat him in his head. He lost 50% from his hearing. So this is how they deal with prisoners and how use the violence against them inside of the prison now. When was coming to my home, also the last time they came, just a few months ago, my youngest son is 11 years old. They beat him. They arrested me. They put me outside, covered my eyes, and they told the soldiers to put their foot in my body. 4 hours. When they released me, I went back to the home. I find my daughter and my little son crying. They told me they beat us. They broke everything in the house. So they did it every time when they're coming, just to scare us, to scare our people, to scare the next generation. They don't want to see this non-violent way growing in Palestine. They know that this way is scared them. They know that this way is show the face of the violent. And they didn't want people outside of Palestine to know about it. They was shooting the camera people who's taking photos. And because this, we have the 5 broken cameras. So each camera have a bullet. So they don't want to see people comes to visit us because they will know the truth. But we have hundreds of thousands of people who visiting us and come. Just this year, we had about 5 groups coming from England, Ireland, from United States to see from the ground. And when you go there, you don't believe. That's when you said settlement in the language, it's like small houses in the top of the mountain or caravans. But when I have members in the British Parliament came to visit us in Bil'in, and they took photos to the settlement, they said it's not a settlement, it's a big city. And this is how they use the words in their propaganda. And we believe that this suffering of the Palestinians from the ground, they didn't show it in the media, especially in the Western media. That we believe it's controlled by the Zionist media. They didn't want to show the life of the Palestinians. They didn't want the people outside to know about who is the Palestinians. When you ask where is Palestine, many people didn't know. They think that Palestinian is a terrorist. They want to kill the Jews and throw them in the sea and all these propaganda that they use it. We are not against the Jewish people. We are against the occupation. We want to see freedom. We want peace. We want justice and equality. We want to live like everybody in the world. You know, I am 50 years. I never been in Jerusalem. You can go to Jerusalem anytime you want. But it's 20 kilometers from my home, and I never been there. You can go to the sea. But all my life, I never been in the sea with my children. I never been in Gaza. It's a few kilometers. So these people didn't understand. I can come to United States because I have invitation from a strong organization, a Christian organization. They cannot say no. But if I want to go to Haifa or Akka, I never been there. It's under security reason. You are in the blacklist. Since when I was 17 years old, I never been there. So this is the things, that crimes that's happened against the humanity, and the stories that comes from the ground. Each house, each child that's been killed, he have hope, and he have a dream to be a doctor, or to be an engineer, or to help his people. And they kill him in cold blood. Everybody asks about the solution. What's the solution? You ask Palestinians, what's the solutions? You must ask the Zionists who came to clean the land. They don't want one state or two states. And we had the negotiation in 1993 in Oslo, and they didn't agree. They continued to attack the Palestinians, to confiscate the land, to kill the people. And now all the Western media talking about 7th of October. They forgot everything. They're talking about Hamas. They forget that we didn't have Hamas in 1980s. And it was the occupation with West Bank and Gaza, and they didn't know that we have 300,000 Palestinians being killed before 7th of October. 1 million Palestinians being jailed. But they want to share to the media here, as what Netanyahu was doing from the beginning, is this comes the first day of the occupation. The Palestinians went to occupy Israel. It's not that true. So we have to follow from the ground. And we have to search in the social media what is the truth. To hear the Palestinian people, to come to visit us in Palestine, and to meet our people. So this in general, we have a long story of suffering under the occupation. And we need many books to cover this, and many movies. But this in general, and I will stop here. Sorry for the long time, and I will accept your question. Thank you.
We have plenty of time for questions. If you raise your hand, I'll come to you with the microphone.
Is there any danger that you will not be allowed to return home?
Is there any danger you will not be allowed to return home yet?
I really don't know. I had my friend Bassem Tamimi when he was traveling, and they arrested him for 7 months under administration detention. We didn't do anything. We just, talking, and we explain our story to the people outside, and they cannot arrested us and charge us. If they want to arrested us, they can arrested us by there is new laws under administration detention. But inshallah, no.
Hi, I have a question for each one of you. I visited South Africa in '22 and loved it, based out of Johannesburg and Cape Town. But one thing I had a problem with was that many of the black residents are still suffering economically, almost like they did during apartheid. And there needs to be a repatriation of the land. Now, we've heard about the white farmers, but I haven't heard any more about the 2 women that were killed by the farmers, and this is going to be a little bit gruesome, and were then fed to the hogs. So I would like you to answer that. And with regard to you, sir, about the situation in Gaza, we know that there's a worldwide effort. It's not just in Gaza, but a worldwide effort to take the land from the poor and to pass it on to the wealthy. I saw it when I was in Costa Rica. I saw it when I traveled through Africa, the whole 9 yards. Do you believe that the people of Gaza, the Palestinians, will sit back and will allow Gaza and the West Bank to be totally destroyed, as it has been, and not rebuilt like we did under the Marshall Plan, but allow the current occupant of the Oval Office and his colonizing friends to come in and to turn it into Dubai of that area? I know that's a difficult question for the 2 of you, but that's where my concern is, because I'm in human rights, so that's where my concerns are.
Thank you. So yes, and now I'm gonna advertise myself. I wrote an op-ed for MSNBC about the Afrikaner so-called refugees coming here and talking about the fact that that if they are suffering genocide, then I know the Palestinians would choose white South Africans' genocide. And most people, in fact, would choose the genocide that white South Africans are experiencing, where they still control over 60% of South Africa's land. They still control most of the economy, as you say. And so, I mean, the end of apartheid was the end of political apartheid, but we did not have an economic upheaval. We did not have economic change for the vast majority of black South Africans. And so that continues to be the reality. And you see when our government talks about the taking of land without compensation, which under our Constitution, land that had been forcibly taken from black communities up until the late 80s. Now our government is expected to pay compensation to the white people who were placed on that land. And so the government has put in place this land without compensation in specific instances. And we have it being put out as dispossession of land from white farmers, which means that they need to be refugees in this country. And so I think that it is important that people in this country speak out about what the use of racist ideology to justify giving refugee status to white South Africans at the very same time that this government is closing the doors to refugees from other countries, people of predominantly of color.
Okay, thank you. I think in Gaza, it's not a war. It's a genocide. Yes, it's a ethnic cleansing. What the Zionist aim and the goal of the Zionist when they came to Palestine, it was to build the Jewish state. So of course they want to clean the land from the people. And they want especially to delete and cancel the right of return in this time. So look to the camps in Gaza, it's all been destroyed. And they started in West Bank. They start to destroy the camps in Jenin, in Tulkarem, in Nur Shams, and take the people out from the camps. So this is now happened in West Bank. And before this, they attacks the organization who's take care of the refugees, the ANERA. They closed their offices in West Bank, in Jerusalem, and in Gaza. They didn't want them to work. So the idea is to not talk more about the right of return. And also the refugees in their land in West Bank and Gaza, they're attacking them in the same way. So it's not a war. This is the idea, is they don't want to see Palestinian in that area. This is the aim goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, no, that's okay. Oh, okay. I would like to thank you for coming, and I would like to, I don't know how to express this, to be very open about what is happening, something that we cannot get in the regular news, obviously, because we live in a country of making believe. And therefore, there is no truth. And now it's even worse. If it before wasn't at least some truth, now it is none. The world of U.S. is upside down. So it is, I feel it is a lot more difficult to do what it was done for South Africa, because there were the economy, the banks, the major companies were pro-Africa helping. Now there is nothing. And you know, what it hurts me is, I was in Jordan in 1993, and I visited the camp, the Jordan side, you know. But looking at this map, and everybody should be able to look at the map and look at it, you don't have to know much history. You can see how they have been stealing your land and pushing you around to disappear. They want the whole thing. They want to have it because it's right there by the sea, Gaza, you know. That's what they want. They want to have the sea. They want to have the best land. Therefore, I don't know. I am a Latina, and I understand a lot of suffering. It has been done early in the 70s, 80s. The same thing, but it's still right now. We're trying to change even names or take countries. I mean, we're just going back to the 1800s, 1700s. My question right now is, if Netanyahu comes down out of power, is there any possibility of something to change?
Before Iyad answers that question, I just wanted to go back to a point that you made where you said that in the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa, the banks and the companies were on the side of the Africans. That is not true. The banks and the companies responded to activity from churches, from trade unions, from students in this country who pushed for divestment and for sanctions against South Africa. And when the sanctions Act was passed in Congress, President Reagan vetoed that bill. And the only reason that that bill passed was because of grassroots activism by people across this country reaching out to their representatives to say, we want you to override that veto. And I make this point because I think we're often in a place where we think, what can I do? Look at us. Look at us. There are more of us in this room than there are in the Senate, right? And so we have to take our power. We have to look at the struggles of the past and take our power as activists, as people who care about this country and the world, and say this is not right and we are not going to let it happen on our watch.
Thank you.
So now what happens? Did you hear her question that if
Yeah.
Netanyahu goes, is there
Yes.
hope?
I want to go back to the maps that you show. It's started 1947 until 2000, I think. But now it's they have a decision to build more settlements inside of West Bank. And what's left for the Palestinians from the historic land of Palestine is 12%. This 12% is including Gaza and West Bank. This 12%, we have close to 1 million settlers living now. This is after the wall, building the apartheid wall. This is what left for the Palestinians. So we have 250 settlements, is a big settlement. Another 500 posts for the settlers to be a new settlements in the future. This is the response of your question about Netanyahu. They didn't want one state or two states. They didn't want any solution with the Palestinians. The only solution that they're working for is the Jewish state. They didn't care for the Palestinian where to go. The leaders of the Israeli government now, one of them said we have to bomb them by chemical bombs. The second said we have to burn them. The third, he said we have to kill all of them. The fourth, he said we have to send them to Arab countries. So none of them said that we can do a solution with them. For the Palestinians, they agree to live in one state solution with everybody, democratic state, have freedom, peace, justice, and equality. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your stories tonight. I've been sincerely moved. It's clear that Israel is winning the PR game with our politicians in this country. And one of the BS answers we hear a lot in the US is the reason our government supports Israel and enables them is because they are an ally in the region. And while I don't agree with the Trump administration on pretty much any issue, I do have a question as it relates to them. With these so-called strong relationships that Trump has built with Saudi Arabia and the plane gifting Qatar, that shatters this argument. Do you think that this will change any way that we approach Israel and the way that the U.S. Gives monetarily and militarily? And or will Qatar and Saudi Arabia exert any influence over the United States on our approach to Israel?
Thank you. I think the only way of help the Palestinian people is stop sending weapons to Israel. This is what we want from United States. Don't talk about peace. In the same time, You're sending tons of weapons to kill the Palestinians. It's just 2 days ago, there is lots of tons of weapons just arrived in Palestine to kill the people, the children. Every day, this every day happened. It's not just, it's before 5 minutes. It's happened. A bomb in Gaza. This is why I got, each minute we have a bomb in Gaza or in West Bank killing people. So why are you talking about peace and you send bombs to kill people? So first you have to stop sending weapons, and then you can talk about peace. And we didn't care of Saudi Arabia or Arab countries, all the same. They are all collaborators under the United States. We didn't see anyone stand with the Palestinians in this bad situation. So I think if the governments didn't lie to the people, they have to stop supporting the occupation. In United Nations, we had the Palestinian state in 1967 border. This is what United Nations said, and the International Security Council. Why they didn't put pressure on the Israelis government to agree with this? Why they said it's a legal settlement? Why they cannot stop it? So also United Nations and the International Security Council is part of the occupation. I think there's, we didn't know what they're planning, but in the end, they plan something against the Palestinians, not with the Palestinians. So to take the Palestinians, we heard they want to send the Palestinians in Gaza to Sinai. Sometimes they told that we want to send them to Libya. So we didn't know what's the planning, but to be like honest with you, it's very hard life for the people, and this is what they want to do. They don't want to kick the people out by force them. They want the people to live by themselves. And this is how they're putting more pressure. So look, it's a simple stories. When a man going to bring a sack of flour to his children, that they are hungry, they didn't have house, but they're waiting for their father to bring this sack of, and he didn't beg. One of the stories that I saw, a man, he's carrying on his shoulders a sack of flour, and it's full of blood. So they're asking him, why you go, and it's very dangerous. He said, we have two choices, to die or to die. Because his children will die if he didn't go to bring this flour for them, and they're walking kilometers to bring that. So imagine if they came and opened the borders and they said, we have in the desert food, they will go because they want to save their children. It's a very, very hard life. And they do it now in West Bank. They're putting 1,000 gates, borders, checkpoints, to make it more hard for the Palestinians to move from place to place. 2 years in West Bank, the Palestinians didn't work, didn't have a job. Everything became very expensive. So if you told the youth now we have a work in Canada or in the United States or this, to help their family, they will leave. We are also human. We love the life. We didn't like our children to be killed or injured or arrested. We just want a better future for them, to live in peace. And we don't want to see these massacres that's happened every day against us, against our people. So this is what they're planning. These political people, they didn't care for human. They just care for businesses and money and all these things.
We've got time for only 2 more questions.
Excuse me, sir. Will you tell me what the plan is for rebuilding Gaza? Is there no plan in place? And if it is being rebuilt, will it only be Israeli contractors and the Palestinians will have no part in it?
I don't know what will be happened in Gaza in the future soon, but what I heard that Trump want to make it like a business city, to build hotels and green parking, all these things, that he thinking of a business place on the bodies of the Palestinian people. They have many plans. Palestinian people will never leave their land. They like their land. They like their life. But what they're planning for them to go to Sinai, to go to other Arab countries, to go, this is what they force them to do. But if you ask any Palestinian, he will never leave his land. There is a lot of pressure that came to Palestinians in our village. They destroyed their economy by destroying the olive trees. They attacking the houses. The first day they arrested 36 youth in the village under administration detention. Until now, we have night raids and arrested and attacking people. This is just to give him leave the village. But until now, we didn't have anyone who's left the village. Ask in all United States, you will never have one from Belain. Just me for 2 weeks. Yes, and also in Europe. So we didn't leave our land because this is our land. And we will die there. And we will never give up. Thank you.
And just to add on to that, I believe that Gaza will be rebuilt. I believe that we will see a free Palestine. I believe that Iyad's children will live in the land that his parents and grandparents lived on as free human beings. However, right now, we need us to be speaking out against the war, against the genocide that is happening in Gaza, that we cannot jump to rebuilding Gaza while people are being massacred. So our focus now has to be, what are we doing to bring an end to the genocide that is supported, financed by our government?
I want to say, especially on behalf of everyone, for your presentation and his presentation, we are uplifted and you're creating hope. First, I want to give free publicity that our MC is going to take group to Jerusalem. Dr. Ed Phillips is going to take some groups, and Sarah is the chair of our joining hand, the host tonight with other people. We would like to visit your civic club, your church, or wherever you want us to do that. I am the survivor of the first Nakba. So everything you said is true, that there is a difference between colonialism and settler colonialism. Colonialism, I want to suck the resources and use the people and get out. Settler colonialism is like the US, Canada, and Australia and New Zealand. We want to kill the native, take the land and the resources, period. That's what the Palestinians need to understand. So to me, that became clear what Israel is doing in Gaza. I never dreamed, living in Galilee, that Israel will be so brutal to what they're doing. So I agree with you. The issue is not Hamas. The issue is the Palestinian people. I have a wish and a question. I wish that the U.S. Church, like the Episcopal, the United Methodists, the Presbyterians, and other denominations can learn from the South African Church. Because for the first time, when I was at Columbia with a special program, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in South Africa told me that the South African Church will send one person to the West Bank and one person to Gaza to live with the people 6 months or whatever, and then come back and report. I think with good old America, we really need our people to experience the viciousness and the brutality of the State of Israel against the Palestinian. Americans, unless they see, they don't believe. So that's my wish, that we will follow South Africa. But the question for both of you is, we are right now member of churches, communities, and so forth. After hearing you tonight, what are the 2-3 things you want us to do after hearing you?
Look at me. So the first thing that I would ask people to do is to stop relying simply on the media that is easy to access. That the US media has shown us that it is not interested in covering the true story of what is happening in Palestine. And I think Iyad's point about settlements is an important illustration, that we use that language, settlements, and it really does bring to your mind a small community of people. These are huge cities, and the people are subsidized to live there, and part of that subsidy is paid by our taxes. And so if we are not paying attention, who will be? So we need to first of all ask that we look for different, wider resources for information. That would be my first. My second is to take the opportunities that FOSNA and the other organizations sponsoring this evening give for people to go and see. I know that it sounds, I hate the idea of, what is it called? Not voluntourism, the worst one. The, whatever it is. You know, people going to look at people suffering. Suffering tourism, if you want. That I hate the idea of that as an objective, but I have come to realize that for most people in this country, if you haven't seen it, it isn't happening. And so we need more people courageous enough to take the opportunities to go and see. But not just to go and see, but to go and stand with our siblings in Palestine and to be willing to raise our voices. The third thing, I have a whole list. We could be here all night with me. The third is to be putting pressure not just on our political representatives, but on our faith leaders. The number of times I have heard in pulpits, we stand with Israel's right to defend itself. And what happened to the Palestinians? What is the story of Palestinians? How often have we heard in the pulpit, we stand with the people of Palestine because they too are our brothers and sisters and siblings in the faith. So I want us to ask our pastors, ask our priests, ask our rectors, ask our vestries. Sorry, that's the Episcopal in me. I don't know what they call them in the other denominations. Ask our faith leaders, what are you doing and what are you saying about what is going on in Palestine? And then, of course, the political people. And I hear from young people that when they call, they are given straight into voicemail. But keep calling, keep writing, because yes, they can keep sending you to voicemail, but somebody is listening to that voicemail at the end of the month, at the end of the year, at the end of the week. They are paying attention to the voices that they are hearing. And if they are not hearing any voices, they don't need to pay attention. And yes, we know they are also listening to the almighty dollar, but truth is they are still listening to and for our voices.
Good, thank you. You say everything.
No, I didn't.
What I am saying, the first, that when I say Palestinians is the Christians, Muslims, and Jews who lived before the occupation, who lived together in peace and justice and neighbors, and they was sitting, eating, all these before the occupation. When I said Palestinians, as a Christians, many of them being killed, churches being destroyed, and many of them being kicked out of Palestine, 1948 and 1967. So I believe that the important thing that we have to do here and in other countries is the education. We know that the Zionists have very strong media. It's very strong leg to stand and to fight this media by educate people, especially the students, the next future. When we saw the universities in the United States start the revolution in Columbia and other universities, they give us hope that we saw that part of the world is standing with us. And when it's happened against the apartheid in South Africa, it started by BDS movement and started in universities. So we have first to educate people about the reality, about the situation in Palestine, and then to talk about the BDS movement. BDS is important. You can put the occupation in the corner, and you can fight the Israeli economy by BDS movement. To come to Palestine to visit the Palestinians, you are more than welcome. Our houses is yours. You can learn more from the Palestinian people. You can meet Palestinians. You can see who is these terrorist people. I have a story with my friend Miko Beled. You know him? Miko Beled was a very strong Zionist and he was in the special forces. His father built the Israeli army, one of the. He's this in his book. When he the first meet me, and I have photo with him in his book, The General Son. So he said it's the first meeting that's changed me when I invite him to my village and we had a food together and we sit in the outpost that we built near the settlement together and we had lots of talks. Now, he's a very strong support for Palestine and he's speaking in all over the world about the Israeli army and the crimes that they did for the Palestinians. So we have many Zionists who's been changed their mind when they visit Palestine. Education is important. I know all of you know about Palestine and you heard, you have friends, you've been in Palestine. But also we had to get more people from our friends, our family, our community to understand what's happened in Palestine. When it's growing, it will be more pressure in our Congress people, in our community, to stop the support, to find solution for these people who are suffering from 100 years. So I think and I believe in the people more than governments. And it will become from the people, and you give us hope. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to invite our friend Reverend Kiana Jones up here to talk to you a little bit about what Atlanta is doing about you've heard BDS dropped several times in this conversation, and so we'd like to put that in context for you. After that, I'll close this out, and then we can go have some refreshments and more conversation.
Thank you, Dee, and thank you to Oakhurst for hosting us tonight. Thank you, Fosna. Thank you, Joining Hands for Justice. Thank you to JVP and the Atlanta Multi-Faith Coalition for Palestine. My name is Reverend Kiana Jones-Moore, and I am a member of the Atlanta Multi-Faith Coalition for Palestine, specifically the Faith in Action Committee, and we are here to talk about BDS because it's important. So for those who are not familiar, BDS stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions. And within a BDS movement, you choose what it is that you are going to fast, because all of us Christians know about what fasting is, and we abstain from using something, doing something, going somewhere. So it means that you fast something or something for a purpose. And the BDS campaign that we want to ask you to join specifically is the Boycott Chevron campaign. Now, as an environmental justice organizer, it would be great if we all were able to drive EVs and we wouldn't need gas, right? That'd be wonderful. But that is not the case, because as it stands, I'm kind of like on the fence about how I feel about EVs, because the destruction to the environment to make them, the pillaging of resources, particularly from Africa, to make the, okay, I'm not gonna go there. But anyway, Boycott Chevron is what we're talking about. And this is a campaign that is being led by the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, USCPR. You can find out more about that campaign at uscpr.org, but there are some members of the Faith in Action Committee who are in the audience who have these QR codes. So Steve has a QR code. Steve, will you raise your hand? Who'd you give yours to? Oh, you passed it out. Look, Steve is doing it already. Steve is passing it around. So we have QR codes because what we would like for you to do is to sign a petition saying that you will not support Chevron. This petition is a letter going directly to the CEO of Chevron, informing him of what it means that Chevron is actually contributing to this genocide. And when you go to uscpr.org and you click on campaigns and boycott Chevron specifically, there's an entire toolkit that you can share with friends, with family members, where you can also educate yourself more on exactly how it is that Chevron, Texaco, and Caltrex specifically are contributing to this genocide. And we've made it easy so that if you are here tonight, you can find one of us and scan this QR code so that you can sign this petition, because we want you to do this now while you have a chance, right? But also, we do want you to follow up, and Fanta is passing around a clipboard where you can sign up to get more information from us, because we are going to be conducting more in-depth trainings, because a petition is easy for us to do, and it's something that really doesn't take a lot of energy. But also, I realize that some people are nervous about talking to others. Some people are nervous about what it means to go into a Chevron and speak to the owner and say, hey, what you're doing is killing innocent people in Gaza, and we would like for you not to do this. That's not the easiest thing to do. But if you are up for it, if you are up for finding out exactly what you can do, and mind you, I got some stickers too, because we'll talk about all the food corporations that are funding this as well. You can go in the grocery store, and while you're walking down the aisle, when you get to the Oreos, you can slap a sticker on there that says, don't buy this. Because purchasing this product is going to make it so that your money is being used to fund the genocide of other people. I mean, think about that, y'all. If we knew what we could divest from so that all of our money, because the government got us right now, our taxes are already going for this. We don't want to give anything extra for the killing of people. We don't want to give anything extra for the bombing of a hospital, of a school. We don't want to give anything extra for people to go and attempt to get aid but be murdered while they are doing so. Do you know how insidious that is? So at the Atlanta Multi-Faith Coalition for Palestine, the Faith in Action Committee is going to be having more trainings about what BDS movements are, how it is that we get involved, and USCPR has already done the work for us. We want to add to an already moving movement. We want to make sure that we can amplify what's already happening, because we want to make an impact. We want to make sure that we are not just sitting on our blessed assurance and praying for something to happen, but that we are doing it. So if you see that clipboard come around, sign up for more information, grab one of us and a QR code. I'm actually going to leave one up here on the piano so that if you walk up this way, you can scan it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kiana. Thank you. And thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Iyad. Thank you, Kiana. Thank you to our Oakhurst Presbyterian Church family for hosting us tonight. And lastly, thank you to all of you for being here this evening. So now comes another call to action. So if you were touched by things that you heard tonight, I am going to personally invite you to go and see reflecting messages we heard already. And I invite you to go and see because since December of 2023, Friends of Sabeel networks across the US, the UK, Canada, and South Africa have coordinated 20 Solidarity and Witness delegations, sending approximately 300 people to Palestine, many of whom were first visitors. There are several of us, I see you here, who have been on a recent delegation who would be more than happy to talk to you about our experience, give you more information. And then lastly, downstairs you will find a table with resources. I am a librarian. I can't leave without telling you that there is another QR code sign down there with a list of curated resources that I made for your perusal, and they are all open access, freely available, and not behind a paywall. So thank you again for being here, and I'm going to invite you. This was step one. Step two, you can join us at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday at Old Water Tower Park for our monthly pilgrimage walk for Gaza, where we prayerfully walk 2.5 miles. And this month, we are going to focus on showing our solidarity to the U.S. residents that have been affected by ICE's illegal actions. So please come 9 a.m. Old Water Tower Park and pray with your feet, as we like to say. So thank you for being here. Join us downstairs for some refreshments and more conversation. And baklava. There's baklava, and I brought a watermelon from my garden. So please don't make me take the watermelon home. Thank you for being here tonight.